Alright, hello everyone, my name is Chase. This is the third time I'm recording and I spent too long for the last one. I'm just gonna make this quick because, I realized it was way too long for the last one anyway. So look, I'm here to make a game of WOTV, a successor to it. That is my goal. I did a response questionnaire to send this, and then I'm also gonna do an account review on mine just because I want to remember it. So let's just get into that really quick. So if I look at this, I asked some questions like, what is your favorite feature of a game? And the majority of people chose either guild battle, class matches, or quick pick. And those make sense. Those were all PvP based. Guild battle could be improved heavily by adding cost limitations, more often. I think that's where people disliked it. And then for class matches, just better, more unique cost limitations was what people were looking for, beyond just cost numbers, or maybe even changing the cost of the units as time went on. I think there was a lot of things that WOTV could have done, and I think these all make sense. They're all PvP based. People enjoy that. And it makes sense that of these, story was one of the lower ones. Porcelain Tower makes sense. No one liked Porcelain Tower because there was 100 floors to it. I think JB and Ready Play Will gave very good critiques on that. I think that the Spiral, where it was just 10 floors, was a lot better. So I think there was improvement that was made, but having to do 100 floors, too daunting. I think that could have been done better. If we look at which forms of play did you have the highest level of fun, I asked if it was auto, manual, or both, and to my surprise, while I knew auto was going to be number one because I did post this information to both Orange's Discord, my Discord, which is the Guild Battle one, as well as Numero's for the manual side of things. The fact that people thought it both were equally fun was surprising. I think that makes sense though. I think that both forms of gameplay were really cool, so I think in the future, if I make a game, which I will hold myself accountable to at least do this, or to get something out, it will have both. If I look at which features and mechanics turned off people the most, 100% the reincarnation system, the no pity system, double cost, there were so many things. Number one, surprising though, was holo VCs. I think this is just because there were so many things before it that this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think some of the other ones just make sense, like having no pity is an archaic system. Reincarnation, JB and Ready Player Will gave a good explanation that this made whales spent so much money and created a large gap between those people and free to play. So I think the remembrance system fixed a lot of that, and I think that if they had implemented that, we'd have a very good game balance. If I looked at what made people keep playing, it was the PvP. This was a no-brainer. Class matches, quick pick, all that is what people wanted. What would you change about guild battle? I'll just read some of these comments here. Making it once per week. I don't know if that is the right answer, but I agree with having it be less. That was one thing I did not like about this, was just how often and grinding it was to play that. They wanted different types of guild battles. They wanted more cost limitations, supremacy matches rather than these week offs where we would do cost limited stuff. But that like cost limited guild battle, and then it would just be with a lot of weak guilds, so you didn't get really a lot of fun out of it. It was just a week off for some people, or it just was not fun guild battle. People talking about making older units more relevant, just more game modes within the guild battle beyond what we just had. More time to mock. I actually disagree with that. I find that mocking, let's say during guild battle, would have been a large issue. Maybe there were ways to fix that, but my reasoning is that if we were fighting a wall and then the wall chose to do a certain pattern, so we would fight the first unit and then we would go, okay, here's their gear, here's their setup. Let's go test in mock battle to confirm which team would beat it. So then we would then send those teams against it. Maybe there could have been something where like people would make slight adjustments to the team and that would make a more complex guild battle. But I think what I would just do is change some stuff about how we did that. Maybe not have that information at all. I don't know. There's so many things that could change that, but I don't think the answer was to have 24/7 mock battle, because I think if we did it just in the current state of the game, it's not good. It would not be fun. If I look at some other stuff like how to make class match and quick pick better, 5v5, yeah, just different things, different restrictions. We always kind of did the same rinse and repeat, which it was like no quicken, no CT, or something, no haste. Make quick pick manual, definitely. Having more bonuses with older units. They actually did something like that at one point, but they weren't enough. So I think that I agree that could have been something interesting to bring these lower cost units into the field. But everyone's just going back to like, you know, some form of restriction or something to change it. You know, some people said none, but I think there's enough that people need some changes that can at least improve it. So this one is about like the story mechanics. Someone said what? Some people need improvement. They didn't like it. Separate cutscenes from map battles. They actually started implementing that at the end, and I did agree. Like this was better because the battles are meaningless. Make it enjoyable. They needed something where they had the tile thing where you would press something and something would occur. Something. Just make it different. There were some instances where there were traps, and yeah, that was fun. I think they could have added more stuff. I think as long as it's just not something that is repeatable, would have been nice, because like one of the problems is if you make a trap, then that means that when you click auto and have to repeat it, it's a pain in the ass at that point. And I think probably that's what the developers on their side were feeling. So what I would probably have done is not make it so that you need to do the story again once you do it. It's just one time for your enjoyment. So yeah, unique objectives. Just make it meaningful. One of the questions I asked, and I think this was an important one because this is going to be for the game that I want to make, is if you were to play another WOTV-like game, what art style would you choose? I gave 3 options, which was pixel art, anime style, hyper-realistic, and other. And I was surprised actually that the Final Fantasy Tactics style, the pixel art, was chosen because I think that the games that a lot of people are playing are anime style nowadays with Honkai Star Rail, or you know, they play games like Final Fantasy 16. I think this is because of the nostalgia. I do agree with that. Like, we are trying to cater to an audience that enjoyed that style, and I think there is a modernization route that you can go with the quote-unquote pixel graphics that the HD pixel graphics that Triangle Strategy and Octopath Traveler did. So I think, yes, there is something that could be made to do that. I've just never really seen a pixel game where they have like the level like Fortnite or Rocket League or some of these other games where Dota, League of Legends, where people play these games and it's huge. So we'll have to see like how would you build a game with that in mind. Let's look at the more details, see what others picked. Exactly like WOTV. I did not like the WOTV style. I loved the art, not the 3D renderings. I think those were just a little weak. And then some people saying both. Hyper realistic. Just continue to keep it turn-based. Well, tactics-based, yeah. Finally, any other things that they would suggest to make it better? Here were some of the things. This I agree with 100%, is making an esport. I think that is where it was its weakest, where you have games in like game modes in Rocket League, where you can make your own host your own tournaments. And there's monetary stuff to get there. There's enjoyment for just your friends. Finding who the best person is. Whatever it is. Like there was nothing you can do except you make a tournament. You had to do everything outside in Discord, and so that means it's a chore to make it. And so it needs to be within the application. Other things, obviously, reduce grinding. Yeah, if I make a game, it's not going to be gacha related. It's going to be based off of I'm just going to throw one out there. This is not how it's going to be. There's so much more planning that needs to be done. But make it like Pokemon, where you collect the units or something, or you make it where everything is obtainable. It's just a base game, and then you can do huge PvP outside of it. There's so many different ways we can go about this. I think the point being is that just remove the gacha mechanics. Don't pay extra for a game. You have a game. If you want maybe more online capabilities, maybe you pay for a fixed server fee. I don't know. There's too many questions to ask. Point being, remove the gacha system from it. That much is obvious. And then they also talk about like communication. I agree. World to worldwide was terrible, and the communication fell. And I think there was a lot of issues with that. People dislike the affinity system. They did change that later. That was great. Making the game easier is basically what it is. I think where the balance needs to be is like, where do you make the complexity? And I think the complexity needs to be in when you're tinkering with like the unit and stuff, not with like leveling and grinding to get to that point. And I think that's where WOTV did fix in the future, but needed to fix over multiple iterations and updates of the game. And yes, I think if I were to make some form of payment system where people were paying for stuff, skins, weapons, just customization, I think everyone unanimously agrees that those type of payments are great. They're not giving you an advantage. They're just for your enjoyment. Whether or not the what was it? I don't remember if it was Skyrim. I think it was Oblivion Golden Horse Armor. Pay downloadable DLC for that caused a whole reckoning on this type of thing, but people don't mind that as much. The people hate just gacha, just pity systems and whatnot. Before going into the account review, I just wanted to give a shout out to my guild. My guild was Hostile Takeover. I really enjoyed being that guild. I was originally in Crystal Kin with Krinatal, who was from a contributor for Ultima Final Fantasy, a podcast that I love and held dear to my heart. They've ended as well. A lot of things are ending. I love this guild because I made a lot of friends. I'm friends with Charbs, our guild leader, who I will be seeing from time to time when I head down to San Diego. Strayed lives relatively near me in California. He came from the Philippines with some of his group from his guild Equatoria. Omni is one of my friends who I'll be playing Rocket League with in the future after this game dies. Dendrick, I still send Technologia videos, those Italian ones about just jokes, so those are fun. Pred, I met in person at a festival. It was really fun. We ate some really good food. There's just so many people here that I'm gonna miss. They were a really great guild, great friends, and I hope I'm going to either meet them in person in the future or just continue to hang out with them in future games, or even in this game that I want to create, is to get people to contribute. Going into the account review, so I spent $12,000 on this game probably. I did that by basing it off of 5 years plus $200 a month. I definitely spent more at the beginning during the COVID time period, but I know that there were times where I didn't spend money because I had enough Viswar to help to hold on for the next month, and then I used points and gift cards, bunch of things that made it quote unquote free. So I would have said that I probably spent around 12,000, which I do regret. 100% that is a crap ton of money, and I do regret that piece, but I don't regret the fact that I got to make friends due to it by joining the guild. So that aspect I don't regret. I just think that we should not have to be paying so much money to enjoy a game. Going into our guild, this is our takeover guild. We're rank 6 in global. We're currently trying to fight to get rank 5. We did end up getting Cancer 3, so we're happy about that. If we go into duels, I was able to get first in arena. I'm not playing it right now. There's no point. It's funny that the duration is still going to 6-1, despite the fact that this game's over. Literally tonight. In class matches, I was able to get rank 3 basically for the last year and a half, top 10, probably 2 years. I really enjoyed that game mode. It was my favorite. And the last team I got to use for it was this one. I really loved this team. Sephiroth is one of my favorite units, period. And I think it was really cool because I love Katana. Katana is such a great job in WOTV. It had really great VC synergy. And so I got to use this team to, destroy evasion teams. And I was able to beat Leald, who I think is undisputedly the best WOTV player in the game. Best overall, I would probably give it to JB, but I would say best player in the game is Leald. He was a really, really tough player who would just get 40-0 wins throughout his seasons here. Got first multiple times for sure. There could be some arguments where he was not the best before. I don't even know if he was started at the beginning, but he was one of the best players in the game. And I'm happy that I got to beat him at least once, but I do regret that I never got to play JB in the last one. So that's rough. But other than that, I did play in the end of service tournaments as well as the WBEL. I was a commentator as well. I got to use some enjoyable teams in that. The WBN, I used this team heavily. I got to play Woodstock Winds in the finals. I do regret that I did accidentally break the rules by using Keenblade in combo with Asteris's ability. I guess you're not supposed to do that. I thought I was right. As long as you don't combo it together at the same turn, you're fine. It didn't end up mattering because while I did use them, I took out all of Woodstock Wind's units, the main ones, before needing to use it. I will argue we did play a third match because it was like, you know what, we shouldn't count this. Let's just try it. He did beat me at the end. His team was really tough. He used a great Cypher team. And I tried to beat him with this one. This was the one I used most of the time in that tournament. So, Numero, fuck you for making it so complicated. Or maybe it's JB. Maybe it's JB who made those rules. It's just, that's some complicated stuff to deal with. I think maybe it would have just been nice if we could have just put those cost restrictions into the game. Yes, that would have resolved all the issues. If I were to look at what I did, I was a collector. I loved all the units. I collected all the limited units and all the non-limited. I had the idea of just getting only limited, and then I'd collect the non-limited at the end, and that worked out. Hardest unit being getting Venera. Deegan was one of the people who didn't get it, and I was lucky enough to be able to get it in that last sequence of summons. Hands down, my favorite character is Ramza. He's on my screen. I've never changed him since I got him. So yeah, he was a fun character to use. I got all the vision cards except for the Mobius one. I mean, almost nobody got the Mobius one. So for those people who did, congrats. But was able to get all the VCs thanks to obviously the end of service. But yeah, this was a really enjoyable game. I wish that there was a WOTV 2, but I think we need to take it upon ourselves to make this game now. We need to make a successor. I'm hoping that people like Woodstock Wins, who said they'd be willing to help, Numero said so. We have a bunch of other people who are saying like we will contribute to this, and then I'm hoping that we can make a successor to this game that is gacha free, that people can enjoy. So yeah, this is goodbye. This is end of service. Thank you for listening if you made it to the end, and let's make a good game. Goodbye.